The answer is obvious to many. Hunters are wrong. They kill animals.
I shot you down, bang, bang. You hit the ground, bang, bang.
But hunters see it very differently.
Bang, bang.
They're not the problem. They're part of the solution.
It's a memento, a souvenir.
It's conservation paying for itself.
Are they saviors of the animal world? A hunting exhibition in Dortmund, Europe's largest. 70,000 visitors, more than 500 exhibitors.
Can I help you?
Carlo Engelbrecht markets his hunting trips here.
There are teaser offers, like in the supermarket. Visitors are supposed to get an idea of what these trips cost.
A hunting vacation at Carlo Engelbrecht's private farm in South Africa costs between 5,000 and 70,000 euros. The German guests were there to shoot antelope. And we had their permission to tag along. We covered our own costs to remain independent. Finding their prey only required a few minutes of stalking.
Nice shot.
Thank you.
Beautiful form. So even. A perfect shot.
A good memory.
We wash the animals so the photo looks respectable. No blood or sweat. A respectful display of the animal.
For most guests, the photo and the trophy are vital to a successful hunt.
Nice nyala. And the zebra.
Should be 5. Yep.
Okay. So basically, these all you're going to want to be mounted.
The client will email you with the details of left, right, or straight. Yeah.
Trophy hunting is an industry in South Africa.
Busy with your trophies. On this side, we've repaired it and it is ready now. It's done. We'll make a natural habitat with grass sticking out, you know, all along.
Are you going to use some sand or something?
Some sand, bring that in, and natural grass, artificial grass.
We South Africans grew up with hunting, animals, trophies, meat, game, and so on. It's just what we know. And of course, for someone coming here from, say, Germany or Austria, it can be horrific, a shock.
Carlo Engelbrecht collects trophies and is familiar with the debate.
The killing of the game is legal. I post pictures and show it all. Show the world that I'm not ashamed and that it's all legal.
But photos like these attract criticism. Many find it respectless and cruel.
People who get upset at the pictures are divorced from reality.
Biologist Daniela Fryer works for Pro Wildlife, an organization she co-founded 25 years ago to better protect wildlife.
We're against trophy killing. It's incompatible with a modern understanding of animals and species conservation.
They're especially critical of hunting safaris and the accompanying price lists.
They had lions too that were relatively cheap. Here, under 10,000 euros. Females even for 5,000.
5,000 knapp, ja, das ist halt echt eigentlich.
And the giraffes were crazy cheap too.
Yeah, some were fairly cheap.
Yeah, here for 1,900 euros.
Also on sale, a small crocodile for 4,000 euros, a plain zebra for 750 euros, and ask the price for a hippopotamus.
I just find it immoral to put a price tag on an animal and say, that's how much this animal's life is worth.
Hier, so viel ist dieses Leben dieses Tieres wert.
International trade in elephant tusks and lion pelts is illegal. They're not allowed to leave the country. But there is an exception for trophy hunting, which undermines species protection regulation.
Importing hunting trophies is sometimes legal. But pro-wildlife wants a complete ban.
Germany is the EU's largest consumer of hunting trophies and second only to Americans worldwide. If Germany banned imports, trophy hunters would lose the incentive to kill these animals. Because ultimately, it's all about status and hanging your trophies on the wall.
Namibia is one of the most popular destinations for German hunting tourists. And Namibian Stephen Jacobs has been offering hunting safaris since 2010 for elephants.
Okay.
This bull elephant was shot the previous day by an American. Now workers will process the kill.
We came around this thicket here, stopped here and started feeding on that bush, and then the client gave him a perfect brain shot, one shot down, finished everything. Over. You know, if I would one day die, I would like to go in that manner as well. It's a switch that you switch off and it's finished. There's no suffering, no pain, no nothing.
The elephant was very old.
Okay, Owen.
Okay, guys, let's get going.
The elephant's advanced age matters, says the hunter, as did the big tusk. An elephant hunt can cost as much as 100,000 euros. These pictures are disturbing to many, but show the realities of the industry.
The hunter that hunted the elephant would like to have a side panel of the skin. I think he wants to make a rifle bag, a soft rifle bag out of the skin.
Wildlife conservation is underfunded and trophies can offset the shortfalls. That's Stephen Jacobs' argument, at least.
You cannot run this conservancy without trophy animals on this conservancy. It gives a purpose to the animals. If there's no purpose to the animals is not going to survive at the end of the day. Isn't it good to be able to sacrifice one of those bulls in order to make all of the others live in this area? Because that one bull can do the protein that we give to the villagers for that area. That one bull can do cash payments for the area, and it actually gives value to the elephants, that one bull.
One thing is clear. Humans are responsible for the low numbers of elephants. The elephant population has declined dramatically in the 20th century, mainly because they were hunted for their ivory. Populations stabilized at low levels in the 1990s. Hunters argue that elephants are especially abundant in areas where hunting revenues fund conservation measures. And Stephen Jacobs says that animals can be hunted ethically.
I think ethical hunting is, to me, is make sure that the animal or the prey is taken on the most cleanly and most humane way that there is. Don't take shots too far away. Don't shoot if you are not 100% sure that you are actually going to kill that animal. If it's fenced in a small little fence and it's hunted, it can't be really called a trophy hunt. It should rather then be called collecting, because that's basically what it is. That animal has got no chance to get away. So what is truly fair or ethical behind that?
But we would later learn of other practices that are controversial, even among hunters. Germany's most important lobbyist for trophy hunting lives in Bavaria. Stefan Wunderlich works for the International Council for Game and Wildlife Conservation, or CIC.
When I first started looking into the trophy hunting issue, I was pretty naive, and probably with an attitude that many have, dismissive, because everyone knows these pictures, everyone knows these videos, and they also had a certain effect on me.
Stefan Wunderlich is a trained forester and hunts himself, sometimes with his eagle. He campaigns against an import ban on trophies and is creating alliances around the world.
It's not always an issue about hunting, it's about sustainability in general. Okay, quite interesting stuff. Can you switch on your micro? All right, bye-bye. I'm just gonna forward it. In
New York is on, if that's true.
For him, the debate is hypocritical.
What's different from hunting in Germany? The deer gets eaten in the end too, just like the antelope in Namibia. The trophy is, I don't want to degrade it, but it's actually a waste product.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Sounds simple, but what does that really mean?
We now have a few days of hunting ahead of us. It's the first time in I don't know how long, 3 or 4 years, that I finally have something like a holiday.
Ready? Born ready.
Stefan Wunderlich wanted to shoot a wildebeest. The guide needed about an hour to find the right one.
Looks like a nice one. Reload. If he gives you another shot, try and take him again. If he gives you another shot. Okay. Did you feel good with the shot? In the chest? Okay. Let's go there slowly, we'll follow it.
Something went wrong. The wildebeest was just injured and fled.
We will see if we can maybe catch up with them where they're bedded down. We will definitely have to get another shot in him. Because if he takes off running again, this can take on for days, but we will try our best, see what we can do.
A nightmare for hunters. The animal suffers, and it's unclear if trackers can ever find it. A quick break, 3 hours later.
Of course, you want your first shot to be a clean kill. But people make mistakes. And in this case, I'm the one who made the mistake, though I still can't work out what actually happened. But maybe we'll get lucky and get close enough again.
And then, 5 hours after the faulty shot, the trackers found the animal again.
Reload. He's down.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Gosh, mooi gespoord. Oh.
Yeah. Thank you. Nice tracking.
Through his nose or what?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So he must have had the head down.
Yeah. But this is a perfect shot right there. Perfect shot. Well done.
You guys especially, not me.
We are a team.
Incredible.
We are a team.
Dieser Kopf ist einfach Teil dieses Tieres.
The head is just part of the animal. Sure, you could just leave it here, but they're going to treat it, and I can take it home with me as a souvenir from the hunt. The value varies a lot, depending on how each hunter sees it.
Wahrscheinlich völlig unterschiedlich, was jetzt so eine Trophäe angeht.
The team takes the animal's body to an indigenous Somme village.
Hello, how are you?
The Somme are hunters and gatherers, but they're not allowed to hunt with rifles in the nature preserve. In return, they get the meat from the trophy hunters, as well as some financial support.
Der kleine feine Unterschied ist, dass
The small but vital difference is that this way a lot more money ends up in the community than when one of the locals goes out hunting. A bonus on top.
kommt einfach noch on top.
These are our animals. We're grateful that the gnu was killed, and we're now distributing the meat.
I don't see anything wrong with it, and judging by their faces, neither do they.
But there are also doubts as to whether this system really works. South African journalist Adam Cruz questions the benefits of trophy hunting. One of his investigations sparked a worldwide controversy.
When I published the Cecil the Lion story, I had no idea that this was a story that was going to go global. Because this is not a one-off story. This has happened many, many times before and many, many times afterwards. And that story was picked up by the international press, and then it went totally global.
There's renewed uproar tonight over that hunter who killed Cecil the lion.
The whole world's talking about the US dentist who killed a lion in Zimbabwe.
Is it that difficult for you to get an erection that you need to kill things?
I wasn't happy with that. Really, my issue with the story was to highlight the problems with the trophy hunting industry, not the individual trophy hunter.
The hunting industry is problematic for Adam Cruz, even if it abides by all the rules.
The pro-trophy hunting people and government state that trophy hunting is necessary in order to provide financial benefits for the local communities within the conservancies. I'm going to prove that that is not the case.
Namibia's nature preserves are among the poorest regions in the country. Money from all kinds of tourism is supposed to help locals live a better life. Cruz took a closer look.
Okay, let's go talk to this guy. Hello.
Hello. Do they give you money?
Geld?
Niks. Nothing.
No. Jobs?
Jobs?
No.
And do they fix the broken well?
No, they know about it, but they're keeping the water for themselves.
The money that the conservancy gets, where do you think that goes?
From that money, we do not even benefit anything. We are still suffering. What do we get? Nothing.
Even this year, we did not get a 10 cent.
During our travels with Adam Cruz, we only met a few people who benefited from the income, like in this sanctuary.
Yeah, the people that are benefiting directly, I will say plus minus, let me put it roughly 80, 90. To compensate each and every one within the whole conservancy, you need a lot of money.
Does trophy hunting improve your lives, gives you money?
Well, to be honest, no. I cannot say where the money is going.
Cruz looked into the industry in 2021 on behalf of hunting opponents.
Hello, how are you?
He investigated 29 of 86 protected areas and found that hardly any income from trophy hunting was reaching the locals.
The big question is, where does the money go? If it's not going to the community members of the Conservancy, who's holding the money?
Cruz met with the chairman of a conservancy to confront him with the criticism.
That is their way of seeing things, I'm quite sure. Because of the academic level, they will see benefit the day when you let them queue up and dish out cash. Benefits are broad. And how I understand benefits will not be understood by the next person.
We didn't get the feeling that much money was getting to the locals. Hunting advocates criticize Cruz for working for hunting opponents. Cruz says he's independent and only uses official figures for his analyses.
The thing that strikes me is the constant decline in wildlife. So this whole notion that conservancies preserve wildlife, and because they preserve wildlife, they therefore benefit the communities living there, is incorrect. Where wildlife populations are declining, trophy hunting must not take place.
In response to our inquiry, the Namibian government rejected Cruz's criticism. In most protected areas, it claims the number of animals is increasing, and where it's declining, it's due to drought or human-animal conflicts. Zimbabwe. We met with one of the most active proponents of hunting tourism. Hamburg entrepreneur Willy Pabst runs a luxury hunting resort here and is annoyed by the stereotypes of trophy-hungry tourists.
Let's look at, say, white men who come here. They dish out $50, $80, $100, $150,000 for a safari, which then goes into nature conservation and helps the poor, our workers, our villages. But then this redistribution is also somehow wrong. What do you want? Such a daft argument.
Willy Pabst rarely hunts himself anymore. Today he wants to shoot an antelope, meat for guests and employees.
Thank you, Ash.
He owns an area in Zimbabwe slightly smaller than Hamburg. 30 years ago it was a cattle farm, now a habitat for many endangered species. He says he finances nature conservation through his wealth and hunting income.
All giraffes.
So we need to be on the lookout because this is a white rhino midden.
Unlike in other parts of Africa, the number of rhinos has been increasing in the Save Valley. A clear argument for Willy Pabst in favour of regulated trophy hunting.
We're now on track for having around 400 rhinos here in the next 5 years. And at some point, it'll be possible to make a rhino available to some European or American to shoot. And if that means that one animal pays for all of the conservation, then I think it's great.
Schutztruppe bezahlt, dann finde ich das auch vollkommen in Ordnung.
private rhino protection force also works to thwart poaching here. The force is recruiting new rangers.
There's lots of good men in these communities. There's thousands. We're surrounded by thousands of people. So why go far off to find them? Why not find good men from here and support your community? That's the key.
Moses Mutameri maintains the rhino database.
Every rhino that we have in the conservancy has a photo album. So we create a photo album that we put all the identifications that we would have made, so that we can see if it has deteriorated in health. So what we want to do with this data is we want to analyze like if our population is progressing.
Willy Pabst and other hunting organisations finance about a quarter of the protection force.
We've got a lot of independent donor funding from donors outside. On the ranches, each property, that's where the ranch owners are bringing in the funding through hunting and photographics and that kind of thing, through their business model, but it's still not enough.
The number of elephants in the Save Valley has also increased thanks to Bryce Clements and his team, who combat poaching in general. The number of elephants in southern Africa has increased slightly, and because humans have pushed them onto small preserves, populations are even sometimes overcrowded. They raid nearby villages and destroy crops, sometimes even habitats. The mighty baobab trees are important ecosystems.
A baobab tree has just imploded in front of us. We have to have a look.
The trees suffer from the climate crisis, but also because elephants eat the moist bark when water is scarce.
It's tragic to see a tree that's centuries old being destroyed simply because we have too many animals. That's the challenge. Not that we shoot 3 elephants at Sango every year. Complete nonsense, all of that.
Conservationist Daniela Fryer is just as passionate as Willy Pabst, but her goal is to achieve an EU-wide ban on the import of hunting trophies in Brussels.
The talks here with parliamentarians and also with the EU Commission are important in getting these plans implemented, and that the EU as a whole ultimately bans the import of trophies. Hello.
Daniela Fryer and a Green parliamentarian.
Of course, we're really pleased to see the majority has widened in the EU Parliament, and for the people it's clear. Surveys show that the majority of European citizens are against trophy hunting.
It's also about a certain prestige related to hunting, which in my opinion is totally outdated. The EU would definitely be ready to take the next step.
The EU Parliament's call to ban the import of trophies is a success for Daniela Fryer. And a setback for Stefan Wunderlich. Like most countries in southern Africa, Namibia opposes an import ban, fearing it could lead to fewer guests and less revenue. Which is why Wunderlich has allies in the Ministry of Environment and Tourism.
It's the first one on the left. Morning, Romeo. Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. How are you doing?
So far, so good. Hope you're doing well as well.
Yeah. You're talking to Romeo.
Romeo Muyunda is the ministry's spokesperson. Stefan Wunderlich updates him on the current developments in Europe.
I'm going to send you 2 links this afternoon. You can read the public statement of European Parliament. It was a sentence saying we care for an effective ban of trophy hunting and wildlife trade. So, and now they're advocating, as it was not possible to implement only for Germany. In Germany, now they're advocating for it in Brussels on a European level. All right.
That evening, Stefan Wunderlich met with Maxi Pierre Lewis. Her organisation supports Namibian conservancies, which are partially financed by hunting.
We have that situation in Finland, in Italy, and now it's back in Germany as well.
We don't understand why German decision makers will make decisions on our behalf. We are really puzzled by that, to be honest.
For her, it's a simple question of equality and respect.
If there's a problem, let's fix it together. Let's fix it together. You cannot just ban things and you don't give us alternatives. If conservation cannot put bread on people's table, then we might also as well forget about conservation.
An unusual encounter in South Africa. Hunting critic Adam Cruz was about to meet hunting organizer Carlo Engelbrecht.
So I'm interested in seeing how he is contributing to conservation with trophy hunting. Here we are, Carlo Engelbrecht Safaris.
It's the first time the two have spoken.
Is there not an argument saying that you're taking out the trophy, you're taking out the best genes of that species?
A lot of cases it will be the case happening. You've got a client and he pays top dollars and you allow him to shoot the biggest and strongest animal that you have. But I want to have a future with the game farm. And if you go to any farmer, let's go back to the agriculture, he won't slaughter his best bull, will he?
Engelbrecht breeds rhinos on his farm. The two African rhino species have been almost eradicated in the last century, mainly due to their prized horns. From a population of around 1 million, only 20 to 25,000 remain. And poaching continues to threaten their existence. Breeders like Engelbrecht earn money from rhino hunting, and they protect their animals.
This landscape here was a farming landscape. I create habitat, there's more bird life. There's other game also living here. This farm has also conservation value to a certain extent.
My greatest fear is that we end up in this dystopian world where you have animals that have value, like rhinos and elephants and lions, in these kind of conditions, and all the wild habitat disappears. True conservation value is where you have an area that is pure biodiversity, where a rhino doesn't just exist in itself as a rhino, but as part of a much broader ecosystem that functions absolutely purposefully.
Engelbrecht believes that animals can only be saved if they have a market value. If other countries ban the import of trophies, he has a plan B, because he's also a forester.
If the world abolishes the market value of wild animals, and you can no longer make money from them, then they have to go. Then we plant trees, a monoculture, and then you'll only have eucalyptus trees, instead of 30 different wild species on one patch of land.
It's one of the most contentious questions. How much does trophy hunting contribute to habitat conservation?
The sun is setting on trophy hunting. It's an industry in decline. It's an industry that one day is going to disappear. So by creating those bans, it's going to start enforcing us to think of other alternatives that are more progressive and will probably have a greater benefit on the impact of biodiversity on this continent.
What's happening here is the opposite. It's even controversial among hunters, breeding lions to be hunted later.
Let me show you some of the lions in here.
Breeders work to create particularly attractive lions. Engelbrecht also offers canned hunts.
That male will be maybe keep it for breeding one day. I have an opportunity to breed with me. We show already potential. It will be a nice, really a good big black mane.
The result is customized animals tailored exclusively to the desires of the hunters.
The customer sees what's on offer. Full price for a full mane, a medium line or a weaker line for less. It all depends on the price.
Military-style videos are used to promote the canned hunts. At least 1,000 hectares are reserved for the deadly safaris. Is that conservation?
As farmers in South Africa doing range lions, we protect that free-range lions out there in the wild, because people can rather come and hunt here for way cheaper than going to hunt a lion in the wild.
South African breeding centres now account for almost a third of African lions.
Of course, I understand that people are troubled by the concept. But why doesn't anyone complain about the cattle that are slaughtered? This lion, this animal, is also bred and is then hunted, while the cattle are slaughtered.
But does this argument really make sense? Cristo Gomes breeds more than just lions for hunting. He stores meat from the other animals and sells it, but not lion meat.
The meat of the lions, we just cut it and throw it away. You cannot do anything with it, because if you start feeding the lion meat back to the lions, they get the taste for lions, and then actually when they start fighting each other and then they start eating each other.
The hunting of captive-bred lions is not the rule, but a controversial exception. Still, about 10,000 such animals exist in South Africa. Panama, November 2022. The states of the Washington Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species met to negotiate the future of endangered species. Lobby groups were also there because the agenda included the international trade of hunting trophies. Adam Cruz spoke at a related anti-hunting event on his research in Namibia. He also met his adversaries, the hunters.
Wow, this is huge. Yeah, this is good. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Namibia. I spoke to a group of dozen or so women and children. The Conservancy, they say, provides nothing. And yet, we keep hearing the story about these conservancies being successful, that they rake in millions of dollars from activities like trophy hunting. This is the great conservation lie.
And then hunting advocate Willie Pabst spoke up.
Thank you very much. My name is Willie Pabst. I'm a member of the CIC. I am a conservationist out of Zimbabwe, and a lot of our indigenous people are...
The venue welcomed questions, but not speeches.
I have to give you a little narrative, otherwise I can't ask the question. First of all...
After more than a minute of speaking without a question, Willie Pabst is interrupted.
It happens.
If we do this...
Okay, if you don't want to, that's fine. I feel that's not what I would call democratic, but be that as it may.
Okay, I'm sorry to feel that.
Okay. Dictatorship is what I call that. Dan kan ik ook in, no?
I thank you very much, sir. Please, can we... Is anybody else...
It's actually very funny. Why is a room full of Namibians here and somebody else is speaking our case?
What stops me from going into Namibia is and speak to your people, because from what I hear from them, you are not listening to them.
A clash of interests, practically irreconcilable. A more open dialogue might help to tackle the complex issues surrounding the topic. not everyone feels heard.
We inherited so many problems, and we continue inheriting those problems. We are not perfect, but you build with what is there. And that's what we have done. The North has never had an interest to bring Africa to any level. They are just concerned about what they are concerned about.
In the end, the trophy trade was neither notably restricted nor relaxed at the conference.
Es gibt nicht die eine Lösung. So, aber
there's no one solution. What we're looking for is just recognition of the sustainable use of wild animals as an alternative model.
The debate is at an impasse. Bryce Clements from the Zimbabwe Rhino Conservation Force is one of the few people working with both sides. He's been fighting for endangered species since his childhood.
Shooting something to hang on the wall, I don't agree with that. A lot of people that would want to see it stopped immediately, they need to help us find sources of funding, ways and means. We need good people to come together with an open mind and find solutions to all of this. Otherwise, you know, it hangs in the balance.
Okay, good to go?
Trophy hunting is controversial, but not everything is as clear-cut as it seems at first glance. What is clear is that protecting habitats costs a lot of money, and that money has to come from somewhere.